The May 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Transportation Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Burgess. Here. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Present. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Frazier. Here. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Here. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Keller. Here. Mr. Keller is present. Chair Morris.
Here.
Chair Morris is present. Ms. Smith. Here. Ms. Smith is present.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Okay, moving on. Pat Gooch, Senior Planner for Monroe County's Planning and Development Department, will now give a brief overview of the 2024 to 2029 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Transportation Committee. Mr. Gooch. Ms. Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should all have a copy of the recommended 2024-2029 CIP. This report reflects the culmination of an 11-month process beginning in late summer, with departments proposing a 6-year funding plan for capital projects. A committee reviews the proposed projects and requires changes based on project priority and fiscal constraints on the program. After review by the county executive, the CIP is submitted to the county planning board. The planning board reviews the CIP, holds a public hearing, and sets priorities for the capital budget year, which is the first year of the CIP, or in this case, 2024. The planning board returns the draft CIP to the county executive, who then submits the recommended CIP to your honorable body. At the June meeting of the legislature, you will set a public hearing for July, and then, upon your favorable review, vote to adopt the plan. There are no funding approvals associated with taking action on this referral. Transportation projects account for 22% of CIP funding, and almost half of county funds programmed in the CIP. County DOT's program is divided into highway and bridges and traffic engineering. Highways and Bridges has a large program that begins on page 65 of your book. There are 25 projects in this program, including 2 new projects, highway preventive maintenance projects, and the county pays for 5% of these projects, the state pays for 15%, and the federal government pays for 80%. The Highway and Bridge program accounts for just over 18% of the capital program. Traffic engineering begins on page 80 of the CIP. There are 7 traffic engineering projects, the first 4 of which will be funded with county cash, no borrowing involved. A new traffic signal project is introduced in 2026 with the same funding share seen in highways and bridges projects. The traffic engineering program accounts for almost 3.6% of the total capital program. I'll be happy to take questions when you get to this item on your agenda. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Gooch. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the April 25th, 2023 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Bill number 23-0144, adopt 2024 to 2029 capital improvement program.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by legislator Colby, second by legislator Keller. Mr. Colby.
To you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. A lot of these projects that are just coming due were put on the CIP 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And so their prices were based on the cost of doing business back then. When you update the CIP, do you go back and update the cost of those projects as they roll forward, or do you just leave them as they were originally priced at or cost estimated at?
So through the chair, yes, the CIP does take into account inflation and changed prices. Keep in mind that the dollar amount for the CIP is for planning purposes. Projects that are placed in the CIP can often be placed 6 years out from now and could differ in size and scope or take place in a completely different economy. So accordingly, we put in the best available numbers at that time, but as we get closer to the point of the CIP's budget year, in this situation 2024, we update the numbers, and different departments do it differently. I know that Department of Transportation and the Department of Environmental Services each update their numbers for the budget year, but also take a look at out years as well. And one thing I'd like to point out is these numbers can be from 6 years ago originally, however, they're updated. But keep in mind, it's hard to anticipate all the inflation that may or may not happen. For example, the 2023 year and 2024 year Those projects were potentially drafted prior to the COVID-19 pandemic and inflation levels that we haven't seen since the 1980s. So we are updating those numbers as it comes to the current budget year to make sure that they are appropriate, because most of us did not anticipate inflation that would reach 8%.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 23-0160, authorize a contract with the Bella Associates for engineering services for the Attridge Road Culvert Project in the town of Riga.
Moved by legislator Keller, second by legislator Smith. Any discussion? Legislator Keller.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Could you just, for this particular project, just give us a quick overview of the, of any changes to scope or if there were any inflationary pressures related to this particular project from the date that it was originally estimated?
Through the chair, for this particular project, no. We were able to absorb whatever increase in consultant design costs with our original assessment of cost.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 23-0161, authorize a contract with Barron and Logwadice for engineering services for the Redmond Road Bridge Project over Yantee Creek in the town of Hamlin.
Moved by legislator Smith, second by legislator Colby. Any discussion? Legislator Smith.
Through the chair to the administration, I'll ask the same question that legislator Keller asked. Have there been any changes on the estimate for this?
Through the chair, same answer.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 23-0162, amend the 2023 capital budget and bond resolution 443 of 2022 to provide an increase in funding and authorize a contract with Stantec Consulting Services for engineering services for the Phillips Road project in the town and village of Webster.
Moved by legislator Colby, second by legislator Keller. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no other matters, the May 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Transportation Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Transportation Committee will be held on Tuesday, June 27, 2023 at 5:15 p.m.